Hello everyone and welcome back to Unity of Command. This is the standalone scenario January offensive from the Black Turn DLC. This is the second of two non-campaign scenarios where we play as the Soviets. January the 6th, 1942. After the promising gains made in December, Stalin orders a general offensive. In the sector facing Moscow, the goal is to encircle and destroy roughly half of the entire army group center. Right, we have arrived in 1942, so the second year, so to speak, in the war on the Eastern Front, and this is considered to be a difficult or hard scenario by the scenario creator. I think this was the third attempt that I managed to win, but it is actually a tricky one and I highly recommend you don't try it until you get at least some experience in the game. So once again we are on the map that is around Moscow. It's a huge map, as you can see, but it's not wide, so it's only tall. It starts from Demyansk in the far north, if you recall, the area around Lake Ilmen, where we fought in one of the, which also featured in one of the battles around Leningrad. And from to the south is the map we all know and love, probably. So the one featured in the previous scenario and in Typhoon as well. So we have the cities of Rev. Mozaisk is around here somewhere, and Kalinin, and of course Moscow. So I'm not going to talk too much about the map. This area, the Bryansk-Kaluga road, for instance, we've seen already in two scenarios, and this area as well. So let's take a quick look at our objectives. We have precisely 5 objectives to hit, and some of them are very interesting. Already the first one in the far north is Demyansk. Encircle and destroy as many of 16th Army units as possible. To be taken by the end of turn 3. This is one of the two very tricky objectives to hit. I'll explain why when we talk about the units. It's not because of the terrain, as you can see we're standing right next to it and it's on relatively open terrain. But yeah, I'll explain in a moment. And all the other objectives are for later turns. So in effect, the way Demyansk works is that it's relatively easy to capture it, but if you don't take some specific measures, you might lose it very easily in one of the subsequent turns and thereby lose your brilliant victory. Alright, our next objective is Rev. Capture Rev to protect the rail line at Kalinin and the capital from an encirclement from the north. This is to be taken by the end of turn 9. We also have in the extreme south Bryansk. Unhinge the southern flank of 2nd Panzer Army by capturing Bryansk, cutting the link with Army Group South. Also to be taken by the end of turn 9. And in the west, in the extreme west, we have Velikiye Luki. Capturing Velikiye Luki will prevent Army Group North from providing support, also to be captured by turn 9. That this is already very interesting because if you can, as you can see, it's on the same road, so you have to capture them. So basically the deadline is the same as Rev, which is literally 3 hexes from, or 2 hexes from our front line, and this one in the far back. This is, by the way, the other difficult objective to capture in time. Yeah, so this can get tricky. And finally we have Vyazma. Cut the rail line and with it the supply of the German units to the east of this city, to be taken by the end of turn 10. And that's a very easy one. And yeah, I'm not going to talk much about the terrain. We already know this map fairly well. The area in the north is relatively open to capture the city, otherwise it's a forested, marshy area. Rivers crisscross the map, so you have to be mindful of that. And in the south, as you know, it's relatively more open. What's more interesting is, let's talk about the terrain. Sorry, not the terrain, the supply. we only have one supply source, and that's Moscow with a range of 11, and all our supply runs out from it, which is okay, and we get supply upgrade special action every turn. So every single turn you can raise the effectiveness or the range of your supply by 1, which means that by the end it's going to be around 20. It's really effective, and thereby, unless you're totally cut off, in most cases you won't run out of supply ever. This is also very strange, because it also means that, for instance, this road here is cut off, but we don't care, because we are clearly in supply from the east easily, before even any of the upgrades. So if you capture, for instance, bridges or this railroad here, or this supply line here, then you can very easily remain in supply. As for the Germans, let's start from the north. They have a supply source of with a range of 14 in the middle of nowhere here, and this is actually pretty important. That in the first attempt I kind of neglected it. I kind of downplayed its importance, and I was totally wrong. This is a crucial one, and you have to capture it as soon as possible. Otherwise you won't be able to hold Demyansk. You might be able to capture it, you probably will be able to capture it in time, but you won't be able to hold it. They also have supply sources from all the roads entering the map. All of them have a range of 8, and obviously we are going to have to cut them all off. There are two further interesting points. Here at Orel, their supply source range is only 4, but that's okay. They don't really have anything else that they need to supply. And there is a unit here, one infantry division, separated and totally encircled, which has its own supply source, so you cannot starve it out for some reason. This is really weird. And the reason this map is different from the previous one, at first glance you would think that it's just the same, only with, you know, it's a bigger area and more units, and the enemy might be more formidable. But the real difference is that you don't outnumber the Germans so much. So the strategy should roughly be the same. However, you are going to have to be very, very conservative with how you spend your units. As usual, we are going to suffer far more casualties than the Germans, at least until we cut them off. And the Germans are very, very well equipped against anything we have to offer. We have an offer here. So you have to be very careful. You still receive 6 infantry steps to reinforce every turn, which is absolutely necessary on this map, and otherwise the general strategy is the same, but you have to be very careful to avoid any unnecessary casualties. Otherwise you're just simply going to run out of units, actually. So it's an entirely real risk. You cannot bash your head against the enemy units unless it's absolutely necessary. The other interesting thing is, even more so than the previous map, is that our Moscow front line is actually pretty weak. Our best unit, this one, is here. It's a Guards Motorized Rifle Division, which is veteran and has a T-34 special step attached to it. But and so we have a couple of useful units or excellent units here in the area, but the Germans actually outnumber us, at least by unit count. And if you're not careful, they actually will make a push and capture your literally only supply source in the whole area. They will also push in any areas that they feel comfortable with. This is another one that's in danger, so between Moscow and Kalinin. And if they manage to cut off this road, which they will manage to do so in this replay, by the way, then everything north of there is totally cut off. So so not only do you have to advance at least slowly and attack specific front sectors, but you also have to be extremely careful holding the supply routes. But another interesting thing is that the AI is kind of fascinated by this supply route here, which is of no importance to us. You cannot recapture it, this bulge, this enemy wedge here, because one of the units, this one, sits in a forested area, and you have nothing that can dislodge it if it's entrenched in a forested area, even though it's a standard infantry division. You literally have nothing against this one. So you can clear it up until them, but that's about it. So So yeah, so let's take a look at our units real quick. As you can see, we most of our units are just standard rifle divisions, which we all know to be next to worthless. They're pretty numerous, but again, you cannot really use them for much. The ones that are useful are either the ones that have experience or guns. Guns are always good. And of course, we have a few really good units, like this guard cavalry unit with a Katyusha attachment or special stuff. This is the best unit here in the south, so you have to treasure it as well. We have exactly one tank division, the 112th tank division again. And don't forget that tank divisions are not really valuable on the Soviet side, so you don't need to look out for them. As I've said, in the middle we have these guards motorized and non-guards motorized rifle divisions with T-34s attached. They are excellent. And in the north we also have a couple of T-34s and a few guns that you need to put to good use. We don't receive any unit reinforcements at all, and the Germans do, by the way, so be prepared for that. And they can deploy them even if they are cut off, if the area is cut off from supply, so that can be a shocker. And unlike in the previous scenario, they are very, very well equipped. Yes, we outnumber them severely, but for instance, here in the north, we have the 18th Motorized Division, which is veteran, and the Totenkopf SS Division, the 3rd SS Division on the German side, which is something that you don't have anything against. And that's why I'm saying that you might be able to capture Demyansk, but if this SS Division can remain in supply, it will eventually recapture it, because it can attack any of our units, cause casualties, and we have no way of causing it any casualties. So the only way to stabilize this front line is to start this unit out and make sure it runs out of supply, but still the other units are relatively dangerous, so to speak. So the way to go ahead, the way to proceed in the north is to use this unit to slowly walk along the edge of Lake Ilmen and capture the point. For some reason, the supply source of the Germans. For some reason, the AI will never try to stop this one, not even attack it, so it can just walk there, and only then will the AI realize what's happening, and then, you know, it's probably too late. Other than that, this front sector is very easy. So once that supply source is secured, their only supply coming from the south is not gonna reach it, so you can remove this whole area and start flooding units to the south. Here you have to be very mindful of the rivers. You can actually remove a lot of the units that are on our side of a river with the help of guns, and stretch the enemy thin. These are standard infantry divisions, so nothing of any real value. However, the Germans here field the SS Cavalry Brigade, which is once again a unit that you cannot really match with practically anything. And of course, as I've already mentioned, here in the Bulge, closest to our supply source in Moscow, the Germans field a lot of tank divisions and the 2nd SS Division Das Reich, and some excellent motorized divisions. They're all veteran. Yes, they're very much under strength, but believe me when I say that you have nothing against these units at all. So so here just try to hold, cut them off, and starve them out. There is no real alternative to this front sector. In the south we have this so-called Regiment 4, which is also another SS motorized division, so another unit that you cannot match with anything. More tank divisions, a motorized division, and even 2 pioneer units. So at first glance it looks that these units overpower us, and they do, to be fair. On the other hand, we outnumber them here very heavily, and the terrain favors, you know, moving warfare, so mobile warfare. So here you also have a chance to just rush ahead, cut them off here and there. Their supply sources are relatively exposed. And by the way, we don't get any partisans, so these garrisons, Smolensk garrison, Roslav garrison, these security units, these Sicherung Einheiten, they don't play much role. So this for instance, this police unit, but they do actually take part in. So they actually fight you if they get a good chance to do so. So our strategy is once again to attack on the flanks and try to cut off at least groups of enemy soldiers, enemy units. When they are starved out, then we can remove them and free up our own units, even though they will probably be, you know, a bit battered by then. And at the extreme north, it's relatively easy. In the extreme south, it's also relatively easy. In more close to the middle, you just have to hold, and that's not going to be easy, to be perfectly honest with you. So let's see how it went. What I haven't mentioned is that we also get a bridging action, 2 bridging actions for the whole game. You can only use 1 per turn, but that's what we are only going to use 1 of them actually. I don't think it's very useful. So in the first turn, all I do is cut off these units from supply. Obviously, next turn they're going to be able to act and they will be threatening. But if we can keep them cut off for another turn, then we can get rid of them, and the others are less scary. I also, as you can see, I also started marching off this unit to the west. You have to be careful to protect your own supply line. So some of our units are stationed directly here, so that you know, the Germans just cannot just simply march up to the supply line and cut it off. And we already positioned 2 rifle divisions with artillery, towed artillery, next to the victory hex. So from our next turn we can attack it. Units with guns will in general be relatively effective against even dug-in standard infantry units. Here in the middle, I'm just trying to go for casualties where I can, where I can go on a one-on-one, so where I can cause one-on-one losses. That's a good idea. So because we still outnumber the Germans, so any casualty we cause them is a good one. And here I remove this unit. It's a really bothersome one in the back. Or maybe I remove it next turn, but it's actually, it's not gonna move, but it's still a bit annoying, and it's not cutting off from us from supply as well either, so it's not like crucial to remove it, but it blocks our movements very heavily. And units like this one that are in exposed positions, you can also use to, for instance, to remove. And this one was also relatively good, so if we can cause damage, you know, one-on-one, especially to a valuable unit or like this, then it's actually far worth it. So we lost 2 active steps and we practically destroyed this unit, and I think we actually totally destroyed this unit. So for 2 active steps we removed the German infantry division. That's always a good trade. And what I'm doing here is trying to make sure that the Germans cannot push to the to the city. And I highly recommend stationing your stronger units, and at least ones with guns on the supply routes leading to and from the city. And basically now all we're doing is trying to seize opportunities. That's really it. So we don't want to we don't want to win the war here. I'm also using the cavalry to try to gain experience. So if it can, if your stronger units can destroy enemy formations, like we just used this one to destroy a totally depleted German infantry division, then it's going to start accumulating experience, and once it reaches veteran level, it's actually going to be far superior and quite useful from that moment on. We already cut the AI off, which is great. They have a bridge here, so oh no, sorry, we hold the other side of the bridge. So right now they're still roughly in supply, at least in this area, but they're going to the AI is going to see what's happening and is going to try to withdraw, basically. So let's see how our strategy worked. So yeah, here in this bulge, at least some of the units are out of supply, and so this is a great way to dislodge the AI at the very least, although then it's going to just bunch up around the victory hexes. So don't think that just because we're standing 2 hex away from this victory hex, we're in any we're close to capturing it at all whatsoever. All right. Now it's the AI's turn. Obviously, it's going to start by sending a unit to its victory axe and taking on positions. And what's really interesting is that here we are not really cutting them off. There is a supply source coming here from the very south, but the AI is still seeing that as a kind of threat in the south. Obviously, some of the units are out of supply, but you know most of them aren't. And it sent this unit to back here to run out to into a trap basically. So that I was happy about that. Um, we are going to suffer losses here once the AI starts attacking after moving a bunch of its units. So that is unfortunately unavoidable. But um, yeah, but it's still something that we have to you have to count with. That's it. Here in the north, they reconnected the SS. You have to do everything to try to cut it off again, and and yeah, and we're on good progress to you know to depleting them overall. Yeah, now the AI starts attacking, so I don't think it's planning to move more, and some of its attacks are whiff, fortunately, but but as you can see, most of them are quite effective. And yeah, and the approaches to Moscow is the real key here. So if they break through, they capture your supply, then you can restart the map. This was an extremely good defense here. A standard rifle division practically annihilated this SS regiment. So I don't know how that happened, but that was a very lucky set of rolls. And this was also good. This unit removed its own entrenchment by attacking, so I don't mind the one active step loss. So as you can see, some of our battles are very kind of lucky or you know worthwhile. Some of the battles we hold our own very well, like this one, but overall we suffered more casualties, and unfortunately the AI knows which targets to attack, so either valuable units are getting hammered, or units that are in good positions, so that positions we don't want to lose. For some reason here in the south, however, the AI dropped the ball, and it basically withdrew to the other side of this river, and still left some of the units here, which is fine. It actually is going to leave them here until it's totally starved out. Now we can rush towards this supply source and at least take one of the supply sources out, which is excellent. All right, now it's our turn. As you can see, we have a few units that are out of supply. Supply simply doesn't reach across the bridge and all through this conga line here. But we're going to be able to connect them up from here, because the AI put up this new front line in front of our wedge, which was not aiming to capture the victory hex, by the way. So the AI totally misunderstood the intentions. And that way we will have actually achieved our objectives by cutting off at least some units, capturing one supply source, and dislodging the AI as well. So here in the south, things are going great. The AI is still pushing in the middle, which is always scary. However, here at least it plugged the gap around Rev, or between Rev and Moscow, which means that we are basically more safe to use our troops in the Moscow. So we alleviated some pressure from the capital. That's also crucial. And in the north, things are still very chaotic and can change very fast. But if we can keep cutting at least some of these units off, then they're going to starve out soon, and then we can stand a better chance against the rest of them. So we start by raising the range of of our supply source as usual. And fortunately, it was very easy to cut them off again. I don't care if this unit dies, to be perfectly honest, because it's done its job. So it's basically it has managed to capture. It has managed to cut off the SS. This unit is gonna, and I think is going to be okay to hold against this one if it starts to advance. And we are just preparing to attack the city on the next turn. We have to capture it on turn 3, so we cannot wait any longer. But it's going to be even more depleted, so that's fine. This unit is on our side of the river, rather was on our side of the river, so it's easy prey. And by pushing, it's not really important to do that here, but by pushing, we managed to to make the AI panic, so that's always a good thing to do. And also by whittling down their forces, we are basically creating better chances for ourselves. Now, I don't want to lose that unit with the Katyusha, so I withdraw it here to relatively safe positions. but we still want to have the road cut here. At least some of the units are affected by this move. And now I see that we can actually probably remove this tank unit here. It wasn't costly at all. We lost 1 or 2 active steps from this unit, so it was totally worth it. And at least on the northern approaches, I think it's the Volga River. This river is cutting this front sector in half. At least the northern approaches are safe now from, directly being captured, so we can proceed and do like this. Don't forget that was the final one was a very important move. Don't forget that there is a bridge here. So you use a good unit here to occupy it, otherwise the AI will push here and you'll be out for a surprise. You'll be in for a surprise rather. Alright, here in the south, we cut these units off completely and we actually managed to capture the supply source. So at this very moment, we haven't attacked at all, but these units are out, not receiving supply. These units are also not receiving supply, and these 2 units won't be able to attack the next turn. And if we can hold this line and remove these units, then we can take care of the others more easily. And we have still a lot of time to do that. So things are turning out excellently here. The SS regiment is gone. It basically didn't put up any fight. And the only reason I moved that unit forwards was to threaten the AI, but also there were 2 reasons. So to threaten the AI and to make room for this tank division to push, to run ahead and to try to capture or cut off supply routes. First I wanted to send one of the cavalry divisions, but actually these are more useful and valuable than the tank division, which is not useful for anything. You cannot reinforce it. And if it is 4 steps, it's really not good, literally not good for anything, apart from either mopping up, but you have a lot of other units that can do that as well, or rushing quickly ahead. So that's a better use of its capabilities. Alright, we remove this tank unit as well because the opportunity presented itself. And now we send the tank ahead. The idea is that on the long run, it will cut off this second supply route, thereby causing this whole front line to collapse. We know already that sooner or later we're gonna break through here and just capture it. If we have to wait for the northern units to arrive, then so be it. But in any case, we're going to make sure that this little pocket here is all cut off and is therefore threatened. But we need to make sure that the southern road is also cut off as well. And the only way to do that is by practically sacrificing this tank division. It's going to turn out in our favor, as you will see. Once again, another opportunity presented itself to remove 1 tank division. It was costly, but that's okay. And this unit is not dug in, so I was thinking we should try to remove it. And yes, it's getting costly, but now that I've dedicated my units to it and now that it is suppressed, I wanted to continue it. However, it actually randomly led into a relatively good position, unfortunately, so that was far worse than I expected. This unit has already attacked, but it hasn't moved, so it's a perfect time opportunity for it to rush ahead and cut the supply source here. This is more of a scare than anything else. All of these units are in supply, in my opinion, because it runs from here, but maybe we can capitalize on it later. And I'm pretty sure this unit either cannot be dislodged or can only be dislodged after the Germans suffer severe casualties, so both alternatives are fine for me. And I only did this move after making sure that I can keep the supply line intact coming from here. I'm getting ready to remove this unit in our back as well. That's why I moved the gun next to it, so I can remove it next turn. And now on turn 2 of the Germans, as you can see, these units cannot attack, and these are 2 extremely valuable units here, and they simply don't have the luxury to just kind of lose or throw away units like this. And these ones are also starting to run dry slowly, so that's something. Here, this unit is practically out of the battle. Unfortunately, everything else is in supply, so far so bad. And of course, here in the north, these units are getting worthless and they cannot attack. That's crucial for the SS and also for the victory hex. It's gonna make it much easier to capture it. And now it starts to receive reinforcements. So one here, another one in the north, and that's I'm not very happy about it, so we definitely don't need more enemy units there, and it's gonna receive another one still in the north. Here it received the German motorized division, and here was something that I did not expect, to be perfectly honest. First of all, they cut us off. This is totally pointless. We receive supply well enough from here, so our supply is like 13, yeah, 13, so this is totally useless. However, this move is excellent. It The AI managed to capture this hex and thereby cutting off the road. So unfortunately, we need to remove it ASAP while also holding the front line so that it cannot repeat this performance the next turn. So this is a difficult task ahead of us. However, fortunately, on this front sector, we are relatively well situated, and only the southern assault offensive against Moscow is holding. As you can see, the AI sees that we are pushing on all fronts, tries to retreat, and in the north, it of course tries to try to make the connection tries to get its units back into supply. It's not going to work out for them. This is our number one priority, to cut them off here. And for instance, this unit of ours is going to not be unable to attack. Is going to be unable to attack. Yes, the next turn. But that's fine. This is here all about starving each other out and not really about true battles. Here in the middle sector, this unit got removed. It's not really dangerous. We have another supply source running in the east. So even if the AI cuts this one off, it's of no consequence. And now we just see relatively random battles where the AI sees that it's in a superior position, and it just removes some of our units. This is painful actually, because as I've said, we don't have so many units to spare. Right. This was excellent. We removed the pioneers, so that was better than anything I could have hoped for. This was also excellent. So some of our units are fighting back at least. And yeah, if we trade on one, that's always acceptable. And now it just, you know, positions some units around victory axis and bunches up in our faces, as it likes to do. Actually, in my previous attempt, the AI spawned this unit to the extreme north with the Stug. It doesn't really matter. Here I think it's more dangerous because in the north we can just starve them out anyway. In any case, we have quite a few tasks in front of us. So first of all, in the south, we need to help out this unit. This is our best unit here. It's not in any immediate danger, but we want it to get resupplied for the next turn. We should start removing at least some of these units here, and thereby freeing up our own infantry so that we can slowly advance and push. We need to propel this tank division further ahead, and the AI did a good job. I don't know if it was intentional or you just got lucky, but now we cannot rush. I wanted to cut the road here, especially actually here on this side of the bridge, so it's well defended, but it's no longer an option. So I'm going to have to use the tank to to cross the Dnieper at Smolensk and cut it off here. Fortunately, it's still in supply at this moment, so it's going to be able to, you know, to kind of force its way across, and then we'll just have to abandon it. And as you know, in the north we're all out of supply because our supply line got cut, so that's another predicament. This unit did not get resupplied as well, so it's a problem for in some cases where we have suppressed steps. So first of all, we raise the range once again to 14, and this is going to be costly, but we absolutely must remove this unit. There is no alternative to this one. And then we have to box this bulge in. But while I'm thinking about it, I decide to capture the victory axe. It's due this turn, so there is no use waiting for it. And we are successful. And I know we get our little exclamation marks next to our units, but now the supply road supply line is back in our hands, and if we can hold it, then we'll be able to hold it. Then they will be resupplied. The SS is still too strong to be attacked, but this is fine. At least the security is not really posing any threat. And I think I made a wrong move here. It's not fatal, but I pushed this division forwards. The idea was to try to cut it off or walk to Veliki Aluki or whatever, but it was already quite out of supply, and as you know, when it's completely depleted, it gets a huge movement penalty as well. And this is rough terrain, so it's going to actually not get anywhere. And what's going to happen is that all the other units will eventually capture this ground, or this area, and it will get resupplied. So it will, the other units will catch up. So this was not a wise move. We have crossed the river with this unit, forced the crossing, and so I decide to remove it. It is costly thus, but at the very least, if we remove this unit, which again should not pose a threat. I know we lost quite a few steps to assault it, but finally it's dead, and now there is nothing standing in our way, and at this moment we can just, you know, push ahead and cut them off here. We are still going to be in supply, by the way, easy, and thereby the AI will be stretched too thin. It's already lost enough units. I know only weaker ones, but a unit is a unit, that it cannot defend everywhere, and by cutting them off here, it will have to kind of choose what to give up, and then we can push our advantage there. So this is the trick in this scenario: attack where the AI is weak, like this security unit. Attack security units and attack supply routes when you can. So where the AI is strong, just try to hold or even retreat if you have to, really. And yep, we are trying to cut off this road as well. Here this unit cut us off. It's not not important or dangerous, but it was annoying. So after some reorganizations, I'd also decide to destroy this unit. It looked vulnerable, and if we managed, I'm not sure we do. Oops. Then if we manage, then these units would also be out. I believe at this moment that the AI won't be able to cut us off again with these units, but I think I'll position more units defensively by the end of the turn. But fortunately, we managed to find a gap in its defenses, and we rush forwards this unit. I know it's going to be out of supply, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. Hopefully we can reconnect it and, you know, not let it die. This is a valuable unit. But at this moment, this whole forwards deployment area of the Germans is totally cut off, and so they will have to abandon their push, and that was kind of crucial. We were running out of units here, so a few more turns they might have been able to actually push ahead and capture a supply source. This way they won't be able to do that, and yeah, I decided to destroy the more valuable unit in the first attack, and I realized that this unit won't be able to resupply, but I'm still gonna destroy it. Alright, so I think this is enough to keep us secure. They can capture this area around Kalinin, I don't care, as long as they don't capture the road, they don't cut us off, then we're fine. Yeah, and here I just, you know, seize opportunities. This is nothing important strategically or anything. It's just to make the AI even more desperate and miserable. Yep. And I knew this would happen, so always protect your approaches to their approaches to Moscow. Alright. Pulling that cavalry unit back here is more than enough. We get supply directly from here. As long as we can hold it, then all of these units will be back in supply. And we are in no rush to remove anything, so this road is not important. It's cut off here anyway. It's as I said, it's not really important. But make sure to sit on their supply sources, and to make sure to make this kind of conga line here. I don't attack these half depleted units because the next turn they will be even more depleted, and they don't pose a threat to us at the moment. Oh yeah, sorry, I was wrong. Then this is the one with the Stug that they received. Okay, so that's the one I remember. It's really interesting that even without supply, they can receive units here because the other units are clearly running out. So this is turn 3 for the Axis, and as you can see, the situation is starting to crumble in at least in places. So here they spawn this unit, which is something, but since we're sitting on their supply source, the SS is completely out of supply. We'll just remove it this turn. So is this Ziarung regiment. And the other units we only need to hold out for one more turn, and afterwards they won't be able to attack, and we'll just wait until they run dry and simply wash them off. And this whole area, so anything northwest from this unit is just going to fall into our hands. Here they simply evaporated, so we can just do whatever we want. However, here around Rev, they are putting up a very strong presence. They are in supply, so this is something we need to worry about. And fortunately, this whole area, well, most of this area got cut off, and this is excellent. Yeah, if we can keep it up for just one more turn, then yeah, they're going to be in a terrible situation, basically. So here in the south, things are going as expected. So let's see what the AI does. Well, as I've mentioned, at this point they have to protect so many areas, and they have to they have to send their few remaining units to so many front lines that it's simply not feasible, not possible. For instance, here in the north, they sent this veteran unit here, which is far superior to our infantry division, but if they don't dislodge us this turn, then it won't be able to attack the next turn, so it doesn't matter. And they cut us off, but actually we still control the road hex, so this is fine. This was totally expected. Alright, now they control the road hex, but I'm pretty sure we can somehow capture it again. And yeah, they retreated. They saw that there was no use pushing further ahead. So I say the most immediate danger is avoided. So they're pushed towards Kalinin, and the cutting off of our supply is no longer available to them. So at least Moscow has been relieved. The remaining units are not really a threat, and once again, as long as we can keep up the pressure, they're just gonna crumble. Alright, they capture some worthless territory, which is also always fine. And here the Reich division seems to still try to push, but the next turn it won't be able to attack, so that's fine. They actually have a breach connection here, so, but I don't think it's enough to resupply this unit. So basically it's suicided at this moment. Yep, and now it's given up this supply route as well. Not that we desperately need it, or if it's so valuable, but when the AI is giving up supply routes, that's when you know that it's in a very difficult situation. Yep. Yes, their units are still obviously superior on a one-on-one fight, or even if the fight is tilted on our favor numerically. But here on our turn, the situation is this: if we can keep up this strategy for just one more turn, or rather 2 more turns, then everything collapses. But we not only do we want to keep it up, but we also want to even advance and create new threats. We raised our supply source, so now it has a range of 15, which is crazy. And let's start with the north, where the situation is the best. The SS is totally depleted, so it's dead basically. So is this Ziering unit, obviously. And yeah, this unit I still used to advance, but it's, as I've said, it was not a good idea. We could try to initiate battle with these units or move up to their faces, but they don't receive supply, so I don't care. They, as time goes on, they're gonna get weaker and weaker. We only need to survive one potential assault from this infantry division, which has a Stug attachment. This motorized division won't be able to attack, so if we survive that one, then this everything is dead here. Okay, let's move towards the south. Oh yeah, we attacked this security unit because we thought we were stronger, but as you can see, it didn't work out that well. And in the extreme south, I'm all happy to remove at least some of these units that are totally depleted. This is not a very heroic achievement, but you know, has to be done. Alright, you can actually reorganize up to 10 steps, infantry steps per turn, and they still arrive, so you can use this as a kind of currency to move your units around. And yeah, there's not much to talk about here, so this is just basically standard movement. Bang. And yeah, so it's nothing important here. Here in this front sector, I want to break them so that we can advance more quickly with these units. Bang. That didn't work out at all. But now that this is depleted, we can just remove it. And we can recapture, or we can rather capture this road like this, and it's still cut off, but only here. So so if we manage to, so our supply runs up until Kaluga, and once that unit is removed sooner or later, then we are going to be able to reconnect it up until the very south. As I've said, we are not out of supply. Even this unit on their own captured supply source is in supply, so that's fine. And yeah, here, as I've mentioned, they're much weaker, and that was another another crucial move. I managed to move this unit, which was in full supply, to the other side of the river, thereby ensuring that it does not get dislodged. It will get back its artillery special step already in the Germans' next turn. So even if they move units against it, they won't be able to remove it. And as long as it sits there, everything else here is practically forfeit. Unfortunately, this road is still not cut off, so that is a problem. Alright, here again I'm not scared. Here the situation seems extremely to be tilted in our favor, rather, so good. Bang. These are really just remnants that are holding this front line. Yeah. We have a lot of infantry steps to distribute, fortunately, from reinforcements. And again, they don't be able to attack, so that's also good. Now, I had to make the decision. I couldn't really cut off their supply source here, and so I decided to save this unit. This is one of our best units. By reconnecting it here to with our supply, it's gonna survive. But this way, their supply source is unfortunately intact, so these units will be resupplied, which means that when we cut them off, we have to wait for, you know, for an additional couple of turns till it gets any effect. I was hoping that at least by you know, having units from moving in, converging from the north and the south both, we will be able to make up for this kind of strategic loss. And the idea is the same here as well. So if these units survive, then they will be resupplied. That was more important to me than causing them more supply damage. And the Germans start by receiving more reinforcements, interestingly, quite strong infantry divisions, by the way. And again, they cut us off because the AI likes to do this, but it's totally pointless. Alright? And yeah, just so you're aware, basically, basically everything is in supply here, so for the AI. So this front area around Biazma is now an issue, and the supply reaches until Rev, at least the city. So their units north of there are supposed to withdraw or do something about the situation, but my point is that we are going to start turn 5, and our outlook is not that great on this area of the front line, which is practically the main area, so it's not It's not a good prospect. Right. The AI is just preparing to attack, I guess. And it even feels so comfortable that it wants to threaten Moscow again, which is a high priority for it, but that's not going to work out, obviously. Fortunately, in the extreme south, our victory is kind of guaranteed now that we're sitting on their supply source. So that's another front line we can chalk off, and we can get some reinforcements from at least. Alright. And now it starts its attack rounds. Unfortunately, that works relatively well. And it cannot recapture its supply source in the south, which is great. And yeah, it removed the T-34. Unfortunately for that unit, things didn't work out as planned. And fortunately, our unit holds excellently in the in the extreme north, and thereby ensuring that our victory is guaranteed there. Now it's our turn 5, and so just a quick look at the situation. The north is 1. I don't care that this unit is totally depleted. There is nothing threatening it the next turn. These units will be simply removed. And these units are also not in an excellent situation, so that's fine. These 2 victory hexes are still, they still present a threat, and so is currently the push towards Moscow, but we will do something about it. We'll use this tank unit to cut off their lines. By the way, at the moment they are connected, which is very funny. So in the previous turn they couldn't use their supply running from here to resupply the Bryansk area, but the AI is dumb like this that it's happily sitting on it, even though we are going to cut everything off. So this is, by the end of this turn, I think all of their supply sources will be cut off near their sources at the very least. In the south, it has basically it has practically fallen as well. So let's mop it up. Yep, nothing is really dangerous here, so we can just remove these units. They're just annoying, and of course we don't want them to recapture anything, so let's take care of them. But they're not threatening, and that was the key move here. So what happened? What happened is we rushed ahead forwards, and we cut them off here. The standard infantry division, which is the only formidable unit here, won't be able to get to us the next turn because it would have to cross the bridge here. I think it won't be able to get to us at least, and attack us as well. And at this moment, the enemy is not in supply anywhere practically, apart from this back area, obviously. So these extremely far away areas. And now I'm more calm. We raise our range back to now to 16th, and yeah, we can already start moving up in the north. The next turn, these units will be fully out of supply, so I could have waited, but I didn't mind these relatively small losses. And this unit needs to be taken care of, unless it walks into Moscow and captures it all by its lonesome. Fortunately, our attack corners it because it's on the other side of a river without any bridge, so that was another not very clever move by the AI. And as you can see now, the Germans are falling more than fighting rather. So this is working out excellently. But we still need to be careful here. They theoretically still pose a threat. I don't think in reality they do. We heavily outnumber them now finally. And yeah, so the middle sector is stabilized as well, in my opinion. Alright, remove this final unit. I used the cavalry because it could still move. And yeah, that unit is also forfeit. And we're just waiting. The next turn, nothing will be able to attack here, so nothing is in any danger. We have stabilized that front line. I still want to capture this supply route because it would actually be beneficial, but after that failed attack I kind of give up on it. And let's just concentrate on capturing the victory hex. We managed to save that cavalry division. We lost its most valuable asset, the T-34, but I guess that's something still. And yeah, here the situation is excellent, as you know, so we're all good. I draw this unit back, so I think so that it's in supply. No, but it's not, so that was a mistake. But at the very least, nothing is threatening to recapture the road, and the other units are in supply. It gets actually an artillery special step as well. And yeah, it's still not in, unfortunately, it's still not in supply, but whatever. And we are attacking wherever we think a push is reasonable or favorable for us, like so. Once again, we're sitting next to the victory hex at Rev, but it's of no importance. We cannot attack it from across the river, and it's dug in. It has the defenders are dug in. They have 5 steps defending it, and this is funny. I just moved 1 hex, and this unit suddenly gets relieved, and it's actually in supply barely. So next turn it's going to be resupplied, which is, I think, I found this hilarious when that happened. It was not intentional. I mean, I didn't know that it would happen like that. And now, turn 5 for the Germans. A lot of their units are unable to attack. Some are totally depleted. So this front sector is half worthless, to be honest. Here around the middle area they're still okay, so they still pose a threat. More to the south these units are also worthless, and in the extreme south they're totally worthless again. So this was, I think, the first time that they truly crumbled. The core still remains, as I said, so they're not totally out of it yet. And the seal of our victory is our poor lone tank division, which is very much in danger. Unfortunately, but it doesn't need to survive the battle. If we can remove enough units from the battlefield, even if the rest gets resupplied, that's fine. And yeah, as you can see, the German panzer divisions are still well, dangerous, as we all know, and formidable, and we don't really have any answers to them apart from, you know, starving them out, which works, I guess. All right. Our turn 6, don't forget that we have to capture almost all the victory axes by the end of turn 9, including this one. And in the north we have 1, in the middle north we have also 1, in the middle our situation is not that great, but in the far south we have also 1. So let's raise our range to 17, which is fun, and just let's remove these straggler, now we call them straggler German units in the north. They're not really that, but you know, when they're depleted they're totally useless. And we also want to help out our brave unit that managed to capture the supply source. And funnily enough, our supply is so strong that once we clear out this patch here, it reaches until the enemy's supply source, so next turn it will be able to attack. Alright, here we push the tank more forward so that it's not in any imminent danger. This I don't think the Orsha garrison would be able to destroy it fully, and we want to run away from this German infantry division. Yep, and we know that the clock is ticking, so let's try to capitalize on our successes, because once that tank division of ours is removed, then the enemy will be back in supply, at least in most fronts. So we need to we need to deal as much damage as we can until then. And also, since we don't need more units in the south, I'm already rushing units towards the north so they can help out. This is kind of crucial because we have been bleeding in the north, or rather in the middle sectors. Obviously we want to destroy whatever we can. These units are not in danger. Once again, the next turn the AI won't be able to attack, so it's all fine. Yeah, destroy weakened and half depleted units, that's always fine, it works out well. And I think finally we captured. Yes, with these breaches also captured and the supply secured. This front line is all in our favor, to be honest. So we can just kind of mop up. Yep. Nothing really threatening us. Boom. And that unit managed to cut the road quite much to the front, and now I made sure that this unit gets resupplied, because this turn it could not attack, but that's fine. The enemy also cannot attack it either with anything, so it's going to be safe, and in the next turn we can use it. Cornered. It's another on our side of the river. I was paying, you have to pay close attention to the terrain, so where the rivers run exactly. And yeah, this attack did not work out very well, to put it mildly. But this is their best unit here. The Panzer division is also not bad, but I don't care for that, to be honest. Once again, the next turn they won't be able to attack, so any damage we deal is a permanent, and we also don't need to fear retaliation. So I want to remove finally take this road, but it's still not working at this turn. So even on turn 6 we could not remove the obstacles from this road. We're still not connected. The AI still holds it. Now, on their turn 6, it's all red. So nothing can attack. Nothing can attack. Only this tank division is in any danger. And theoretically this one, but the AI won't move out of the victory hex. So this is going to be a very short turn, because the AI can move but not attack with any of its units. And so it tries to run back. That was a very interesting move, back and forwards. It doesn't know what to do. It cannot do practically anything. And fortunately for us, this security unit actually moved next to our tank division, but did not attack it, so thereby allowing us to exist for longer. And we now move it. It can only move so slowly, unfortunately. But as long as it's sitting on road hexes, we're fine everywhere. And now we have to capitalize before the tank unit finally gets removed. And it's also the time to accumulate experience. As you can see, both of these units became veteran. And this is also kind of important. Rush ahead. We don't have so much time. We need to capture Veliki Aluki in the in the near future. But regarding Rev, that's totally fine as well. We don't need to rush it. We have 2 further turns to capture it. Next turn it's going to be completely depleted. And now just remove everything from the map. Everything that is totally red you can remove safely. Everything that is not totally red, be a bit careful about it, but they're also much weakened, so yeah, so just have fun. And our supply now has a range of 18, which is crazy. Yep, in the north too. It's not really important to do this. I mean, nothing is happening really there, but once again it's fun. And this unit got reconnected, and we reached Veliki Aluki, but unfortunately this unit is dug in the victory hex, so it's not a favorable situation for us. And since Rev is literally on the road, the supply network, our supply actually doesn't reach directly, so we drag it on from here, which is amazing. It still reaches until the next victory objective. So we're fine, we're safe, and at this point I'm quite sure that we have won. We have won in the south, that's for sure. Nothing can stop us here. I mean, these units are worthless. They still fight back, by the way, with 0 active steps, but that's about it. I actually moved a decent unit in case in the city X, in case the AI receives some kind of strong reinforcements. And now it's finally time to clear out these units as well and end the road. And with that unit gone and with the road hex captured, our supply actually runs until here, because it's all roads, so, or all supply routes. So that means that we are even more secure at this moment. I was constantly afraid that my tank division would get removed from the battlefield and our advantage would be gone. That's why I decided to also remove the SS here, because I didn't want to waste time, and now it's in a weakened state. So and as you can see, it worked out well. The AI cannot attack, so that we're fine. And now we also kind of are trying to rush to Vyazma, not that we are not because we're running out of time, but simply because I want to capitalize on our good situation before it turns sour. I was really expecting that they would be back in supply, or rather this unit would get removed and at least some of the units would get back in supply by the Germans, so I wanted to remove as many of the enemy units as we could. And now, as you can see, it's all red all across the board. The Germans cannot do anything. None of the units can attack. All of them are totally out of supply, so they get movement penalties, or they only have suppressed steps, so they are absolutely worthless, except for literally these 4 units, which are, as you can imagine, not that important. Yeah, so, and now it finally decides to attack our tank unit, which fortunately survives, which means that they won't be able to resupply the next turn, and in the next turn we should finish this. I know Vyazma is not yet due until turn 10, but everything else should be. So let's see how our turn 8 goes. Obviously it should go without any difficulties or issues. Nothing can even defend itself from the German side very effectively, so yeah, even this dug-in infantry gets destroyed without causing any casualties. And now we rush because I realized that we might not be able to breach and capture Velikia Luki in time. Attacking it would have been quite suicidal, but we managed to reinforce this unit, and it has a gun, so the next turn it's going to start by assaulting this 3-step Polizei elements infantry unit here, and then we just throw everything else at it, and I'm quite positive it will be enough. So this front line is okay. Let's see how Vyazma is holding. And as you can see, nothing else does, so that's also fine. I was hoping for an overrun so that it would be able to move more, but whatever. And I attacked the victory hex just for the fun of it, and we removed its entrenchment. I don't turn back, instead I turn forward and reconnect the units here to our supply. And our supply is so powerful that it can cross terrain like that, I don't care. Here as well, I use the tank still to be annoying, so the idea is that it might... They cannot... I mean, even if they reconnect it the next turn, it doesn't matter. On turn 9 we will finish it, including Vyazma as well. They won't be resupplied the next turn, and that's it. These units are the only ones that are still practically existing. Interestingly enough, they still kind of hold the front line here. Not really, I mean, not in the sense that they hold it, you know, but they still have units here, which is funny. Yeah, and I realized that our fastest moving units can probably still participate in this battle. And my last moves are to reinforce the units that can still participate in the assault on Velikia Luki, and I realized that the German unit in the motorized division in the north is still alive, so I decided to change that. And now turn 8 for the Axis. These 3 units are out of supply. There is nothing else on the map except for the defenders of Velikia Luki and these security elements, and this one infantry division which are all in supply. The AI will remove the tank division finally and recapture the road, but it's too late. It's our turn 9, and this is not due this turn, but obviously it's gonna fall. And at that moment the only enemy resistance remaining is around Smolensk, not that it matters. So let's see if we can capture Velikia Luki. I'm quite positive about it, but let's see how it works out. 2 suppressed, 1 KIA, and now it actually even moved out, but it can be easily removed, obviously. Right, Now it's on our side of the river. I decide to have some fun, capture the road up until this point, to suppress loss, no problem there. Another unit removed from the AI. Our supply actually runs up until here, so that's also funny. And our supply has a range of 20, so I guess we unlocked some achievement for it. I don't think we did, I'm just kidding. And now let's remove everything around Vyazma. This goes extremely easy, as you can see. And at this moment we have won. We still had at least 5 excellent units to throw at it, and the defenders had no active steps whatsoever, so this victory was guaranteed. So once again, this is a difficult scenario because you have to be successful in several front sectors, even though in some front sectors success simply means that you need to hold out, so you don't need to capture anything really, in especially around the Moscow area. Holding it is very difficult. If you can cause damage, that's fine, but the main idea is to disrupt the enemy in the back, so that it will give up the siege. You cannot win directly on the front line, especially around the Moscow front line. So fortunately, the extreme north, the middle north, and the extreme south areas are all relatively easy to win, and then you just converge like I did. So it's a huge encirclement or double pronged attack. And that's really it. I think it was relatively clean. This is what you can hope for. We gained a lot of experience. A lot of these units have gained a star, so that's also funny. And given one more turn, I think we would have been able to remove practically all enemy units from the map. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.